Mac Rumors just published its latest iPhone 18 Pro report, and the reaction is already brutal. People are basically saying, same iPhone again, nothing interesting. And one reader even joked that the 13th feature might be the higher price. I understand why. If you only look at the phone, you may feel exactly the same. But I think people are reading these leaks the wrong way. Because Apple is not changing the part you look at first. It is changing the parts that annoy you after 6 months of actually using the phone. One change fixes something people accidentally do with the camera every day. Another could finally give the camera physical control that iPhones have never had before. The Pro Max is making a strange trade. It may become heavier, but the number behind that extra weight surprised me. And there is one feature near the end of this report that changes what happens when your phone says, no service. That is the one I want to talk about most. Because if it works the way it is being reported, this is not just another camera upgrade. But there is a problem. The same report says these phones could become $200 to $300 more expensive. So while we go through this, keep one question in your head. What would Apple have to fix for you to accept that price increase? Because a new color definitely is not enough, and Apple knows that. People say IT looks the same. They are not completely wrong. The iPhone 18 Pro is expected to keep the same basic shape. The Pro stays around 6.3 inches. The Pro Max stays around 6.9 inches. And the large rear camera plateau remains. So yes, put it on a table from 10 feet away, and you may not know which generation you are looking at. But something on the front is changing. Apple is reportedly moving Face ID flood illuminator underneath the display. That allows the dynamic island to become smaller. Not gone. Smaller. And I actually think that is the right move, because I do not need Apple to make the phone round, square, or completely different just so people can recognize the new model. I would rather have more usable screen without losing Face ID. The display itself is also expected to move to LTPO Plus technology. That matters more than the name suggests. The idea is better power efficiency. So while everyone is looking for a redesign, Apple may be trying to make the display consume less battery every minute you use it. But I want to know something. Do you actually notice the dynamic island anymore? Or did your brain stop seeing it a long time ago? Because if you already ignore it, this upgrade means almost nothing to you. The next one probably does. Apple may be admitting the camera button got too complicated. You know that moment when you are trying to use camera control and, instead of getting the setting you wanted, you swipe into something else. Apparently, Apple noticed. The iPhone 18 Pro is expected to simplify camera control. The touch-sensitive layer is reportedly going away. The haptic feedback system may go too. The button would keep pressure sensitivity, so you still press it, but you lose the little swipe gestures that people often trigger accidentally. And I like the logic here. Apple added more controls. People found them annoying. Instead of adding another setting to fix the setting that controls the setting, Apple may simply remove the part causing the problem. That is a real upgrade. Not because Apple added something, because Apple knew when to take something away. If you use camera control now, be honest. Do you actually use the swipe gestures? Or do you mostly use it like a normal button? Because if most people answer normal button, Apple probably made the right call. Now, the camera gets much more interesting. This is one of the leaks I would actually watch during the event. The 48-megapixel main camera is expected to get a variable aperture. And this is not just another software camera mode. There are physical aperture blades inside the camera. Those blades change the size of the opening that lets light reach the sensor. Apple supply chain analyst Ming-Chi Kuo has previously said B Semiconductor would supply equipment related to those aperture blades. Why should you care? Think about taking a photo outside on a very bright day. The camera is getting too much light. Instead of only fighting that light with shutter speed and software, the lens itself can close down. Now take a portrait. The phone can open the aperture. That can change depth of field. Now take a group photo. A different aperture can help keep more of the scene in focus. That is the interesting part. For years, Apple has done incredible things after the image reaches the sensor. Now it may finally have another physical control before the image reaches the sensor. But there is a catch. An iPhone sensor is still small compared with a large mirrorless camera. So do not expect your iPhone to suddenly behave like a full-frame Sony or Canon. Even Mac Rumors points out that the smaller sensor could limit how dramatic the depth of field improvement is. Still, this is the sort of upgrade I want. Not another filter. Not another fake blur slider. Change the light physically. Then let the software work with better data. That makes sense. The A20 Pro is not interesting because IT is faster every year we hear new chip. Faster CPU. Faster GPU. Fine, most phones are already fast. The interesting part of a 20 Pro is how Apple may physically build it. The chip is expected to move from a 3-nanometer process to 2 nanometers. But there is another change. Apple is reportedly moving to TSMC WMCM packaging. That could place RAM directly in the same package with the CPU, GPU, and neural engine instead of keeping it farther away in the traditional layout. Less distance, less energy moving data around, potentially faster AI work, potentially better efficiency, and potentially a smaller overall package inside the phone. That is what I would watch. Not how quickly does Instagram open. I want to see what happens after 20 minutes of camera use, gaming, AI processing, navigation, mobile data. Does the phone stay cooler? Does the battery fall more slowly? That tells me far more than one benchmark score. And the Pro Max battery leak makes this even more interesting. The Pro Max is getting fatter, but look at what you get back. This is probably going to start arguments. The iPhone 18 Pro Max is rumored to be around 9 millimeters thick and roughly 240 grams. That would make it around 0.25 millimeters thicker and about 7 grams heavier than its predecessor. 7 grams does not sound huge, but 240 grams is a heavy phone. So why is Apple doing it? Battery. Regulatory filings point to a 5,567 mAh battery in the US Pro Max. That is up from 5,088 mAh. So we are talking about almost 500 mAh more capacity, nearly a 10% jump. The China model is listed at 5,391 mAhs because the physical SAM tray uses internal space, while the US model is eSIM only. Now this is a trade I want people to argue about. Not blue or red, this. Would you take 7 extra grams for almost 500 mAh more battery? I know people who would say yes immediately. And I know people who already think the Pro Max feels like a brick. There is no universal answer. But at least Apple would be giving you something measurable in return for the extra size. And remember, that larger battery could be working with a more efficient LTPO plus screen and a 2 nanometer processor. So the final battery life improvement could be about more than capacity alone. This may be the generation where Apple stops chasing thinness on the Pro Max and says, fine, you wanted battery. Here is battery. Would you take that deal? I probably know your answer based on whether you carry a power bank. 2 new chips almost nobody will talk about. A 20 Pro will get all the attention. But 2 other chips may matter more during normal daily use. First is the C2 modem. Apple started this modem journey with C1, then C1X. Apple said C1X was up twice as fast as C1 and its most power-efficient iPhone modem at the time. Now the iPhone 18 Pro is expected to move to the 3rd generation C2. That matters because your modem is working constantly, especially when the signal is poor. You've probably felt this. 1 bar of signal, the phone gets warm, pages barely load, battery starts disappearing. A better modem does not look exciting on a specification sheet, but if it holds a connection better and uses less energy doing it, you feel that every day. Then there is the N2 chip. Apple used N1 in most iPhone 17 models and the iPhone Air. N1 brought Wi-Fi 7, Bluetooth 6, and Thread, and Apple said it improved things like AirDrop and personal hotspot reliability. The iPhone 18 Pro is now expected to move to N2. What exactly N2 improves is still unknown. And I actually like that mystery, because if N2 is simply Wi-Fi but faster, I do not care much. If it makes AirDrop stop hanging at the worst possible time, if hotspot connects faster, if Bluetooth switching becomes more reliable, now you have my attention. Those are the things people complain about, not the name of the wireless chip. Now we get to the feature that changes no service. This is the one I saved, because if the report is right, it changes something fundamental. The iPhone 18 Pro is reportedly being prepared for 5G through satellite, not only an emergency text, not only sending your location. The report points toward the possibility of internet access when normal cellular and Wi-Fi connections are unavailable. Think about where that matters. You are driving through a remote area, no tower. You are hiking, no signal. A storm damages local infrastructure, no service. Today, your phone suddenly becomes much less useful. The long-term idea here is that the phone talks directly to a satellite network. No separate satellite dish. No normal cell tower. Your iPhone itself maintains a data connection. That is a much bigger change than a new camera color. But there is a very important catch. Right now, there is no service offering full direct-to-smartphone 5G satellite internet exactly like this at scale. Mac Rumors notes that existing satellite services on phones are still limited to selected functions and applications. So if Apple puts compatible hardware inside iPhone 18 Pro, that does not automatically mean you will be watching YouTube from the middle of nowhere on launch day. Hardware support is one part. The satellite network is another. Carrier agreements matter, countries matter, plans and pricing matter. But this is why C2 could become more important than any CPU benchmark. Because faster apps are nice. A phone that can stay useful after normal networks disappear is something different. If Apple actually demonstrates this in September, this is the feature I think people will remember. And tell me this, would satellite internet change how you use your phone? Or do you live somewhere where you almost never lose cellular coverage? The answer will be completely different depending on where people live. That is exactly why I think this feature will create a serious discussion. The colors and rear design quickly, because this is not why you upgrade. Apple is reportedly planning dark cherry, light blue, dark gray, and silver. Cosmic orange and deep blue are expected to disappear. The rear ceramic shield area around MagSafe may also look more frosted and seamless instead of having such a noticeable two-tone appearance. Dark cherry could look incredible. Fine, but I am not going to spend 2 minutes pretending a color changes the phone. If you buy the phone because dark cherry looks good, fair enough. I just would not call that an upgrade. The next part could actually stop people from buying it. The price may be the real shock. Mac rumors says current estimates point to the iPhone 18 Pro models starting $200 to $300 higher than the previous generation. Analyst Jeff Poo says higher costs for the A20 Pro, RAM and storage could push the increase as high as $300. If that prediction is correct, the iPhone 18 Pro could start at $1399 in the US, and the iPhone 18 Pro Max could start at $1499. Now suddenly the entire video changes, because at $1499 smaller dynamic island sounds ridiculous as a reason to upgrade. Dark cherry does not matter. A frosted back does not matter. Apple has to prove the big changes. Show me the battery. Show me the variable aperture. Show me what C2 actually does. Show me satellite data working. Show me the A20 Pro staying efficient under load. At that price, I do not want promises. I want problems disappearing. So here is probably the most interesting question in this whole video. Imagine Apple puts $1499 on the screen for the Pro Max. Which one feature would have to work perfectly for you to keep watching instead of closing the Apple Store? That is the real test of this upgrade. And we are very close to the event. This is no longer a 6-month-away rumor. Apple is already preparing for its September iPhone event. Employees involved with the event have been told it will happen during the first half of September. Mac Rumors says Tuesday, September 8 or Wednesday, September 9 are the likely dates. The iPhone 18 Pro, iPhone 18 Pro Max, and Apple's foldable iPhone are expected at that event. The phones should then go on sale in the second half of September. And there is another important change this year. The regular iPhone 18 is not expected beside the Pro models. The standard iPhone 18, iPhone 18e, and second-generation iPhone Air are reportedly being saved for around March 2027. So September may feel very different. Apple's traditional phone choices will be heavily focused on the Pro models, plus the foldable. That could also explain why Apple is willing to push the Pro hardware harder, and possibly push the price harder too. So is the iPhone 18 Pro just the same phone again? From the outside, I understand why people say that, but underneath, this is starting to look like a different kind of update. Apple is moving part of Face ID under the display. The screen is becoming more efficient. Camera control is becoming simpler. The main camera may get real variable aperture blades. A 20 Pro is moving to 2nm and a new chip packaging design. The Pro Max may gain almost 500 mAh of battery. C2 continues Apple's modem push, and 2 continues its wireless chip push. And satellite connectivity could eventually give the phone data access where normal networks disappear. That does not mean everyone should upgrade, especially if the $200 to $300 price increase happens. But I also would not dismiss this as an S year just because the camera layout looks familiar. The real question is much simpler. When your current phone annoys you, what is usually the reason? Battery, camera, signal, or the price of upgrading? Because the iPhone 18 Pro appears to be attacking the first three. Apple may create the fourth one itself.